Hi there and welcome to Gaining Vision. I'm Melanie. Have you subscribed to the channel yet? If not, take a second, hit subscribe, and please don't forget to like and share. I was talking with a friend this past week and we were chatting about some of the obstacles and challenges that people with disabilities face on a regular basis. And one of them was setting realistic expectations on ourselves. So what do I mean by that? Not being so hard on ourselves, not being our worst critic when we can't do everything we thought we wanted to in one day. And as we were discussing this, I realized it's not just for people with disabilities. It's for everybody. We are all our own worst critic. We're always hardest on ourselves. But I think part of that is because we set expectations on ourselves to be perfect or close to it, to do 100 things in one day, that reality is that we only need to do 4 or 5, and to be the best at everything we do. But for those of us with disabilities, we also have to be realistic when setting these expectations, in the sense that sometimes we have situations that arise, whether it's a personal care issue, a physical issue, or in my case, my eyes get sore, we may have to take these unexpected breaks. My friend and I were chatting about sometimes we go and do to the point where you need to have a nap in the middle of the day. Horrendous, right? But the reality is, if you don't take that break and you don't have that nap, you're not going to be able to function and complete all the other things you want to do. So how do we find out what's realistic for ourselves, and how we find out if we're being lazy? Because that's a fine line. Because a lot of people will be happy to say, oh, you have a disability, it's okay. You don't have to have the same expectations and things do the same that everybody else does. But how I look at it and what I do, what works for me, is I know what I need to do on any given day, whether it's at your job, doing things around the house, accomplishing something for your personal goals. And I have lists upon lists, all the things I need to get done. And I may say on a certain day I'm going to accomplish these tasks. But I also have to realize that after so many of those tasks, my eyes or my head may just need a rest. So maybe that means taking a break, going get some fresh air, or possibly listening to my audiobook for about 20 minutes, half an hour, and then coming back refreshed to carry on. But what we do as our own worst critic is we beat ourselves up about it. You're lazy, you're not good enough, all those negative voices again talking and telling us things, because we've set ourselves for unrealistic expectations. My friend and I were talking about how many things other people expect us to do as well. And as I mentioned, there's 2 schools of thought. Some people feel that people with disabilities don't need to do as much, whereas others feel that they should do just as much, if not more, to prove themselves. But the reality is, whether you have a disability or not, we have to be fair with ourselves to set realistic expectations, knowing ourselves and what we can do. If we have other people putting expectations on us, it's a little harder because you want to live up to those. And that happens sometimes by family, friends, co-workers, employers. And those unrealistic expectations cause us extra stress and anxiety. But also it may make ourselves feel worse about ourselves. So what is a realistic expectation or goal for someone with a disability? And it varies for everybody. For me, as I mentioned, I have these lists. If I don't accomplish everything on my list for that day, that's okay. I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I'm going to just move it to the next day. Slowly but surely, things will get done. But when you have others telling you that you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, and they're unrealistic, we have to learn how to speak up. Yes, we don't always speak up for ourselves to ourselves and tell ourselves to, lay off and let me have that nap or let me take that break I need. But if we don't speak up to others, and voice our concerns and advocate for ourselves, they're always going to have those unrealistic expectations for us. So we need to be able to advocate what we need and what we know we're capable of without making it look like we can't do things, but also just knowing our timetable. So whether you have a disability or not, if your boss expects you to do 20 things in one day and you physically can only do 10, you need to voice that up to somebody, because otherwise you're always going to be setting yourself up for failure. Unrealistic expectations happen all the time. It could be something as simple as what's expected for you at a job, what's expected for you by your family, what's expected from society. Let's face it, there's women that still go based on the fact that society expects them to stay home with the kids and raise them. There's mentality that women should be a certain size and look at their man and not have any independence at all. But the reality is that's unrealistic expectations in this time and age. By identifying what's realistic for you is the first step. So what's going to work for you as an individual? Whether you have a disability or not, you know yourself best. Is what you're expecting of yourself or what someone else is expecting of you realistic? Only you can answer that. So my friend and I were chatting, and she was mentioning that she can do so many things and then she has to have that break. And then she was beating herself up, saying she, blaming it on herself, and her self-esteem was going down. And that's not a good thing either, because you see the chain reaction. When we set unrealistic expectations of ourselves, or unrealistic limits, maybe is another term we can use, we have to make sure that we can accomplish them so that we don't set ourselves up for the failure and the downward spiral of negative thoughts, depression, and lack of self-worth. It's all interconnected, and we can set ourselves up for success by understanding ourselves and what we're capable of. But don't cheat yourself. Don't expect too little from yourself, because I know each of you has so much that you can accomplish and so much you can do on your timetable. Just understand it so that you can describe it to others so that they don't put unrealistic expectations on you either. An example of unrealistic expectation I'd just like to share with you. This weekend, I set myself up for failure, absolute failure. I had my last day of work on Friday to accomplish everything I needed for that day. I had Toastmasters that night. I signed myself up to do a role that night and a role to do a speech the following day. I was planning my baby sister's baby shower, and I knew that I had a meeting on Saturday as well. I did not allow time for myself or for my husband at all this weekend because I had the baby shower today and doing videos. So I know after this, I need to spend time with my husband. But he's got things he's got to do. So now I've cheated myself and I'm exhausted. So already I've set myself up for failure. Will I do it again? Not intentionally, but sometimes I do, because I thought I could do it all. But the reality is I'm only one person. So you have to look at yourself and what you're capable of. And I'm not saying there's going to be weekends or days that you have to do more, because sometimes that happens. But pace yourself, be kind to yourself, and make sure you take time for your loved ones because they need you to. Till next time, set realistic expectations for yourself, communicate what you need to others, and don't be hard on yourself because you're awesome. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And next time, I'll see you later.